welcome to the Design Ops podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Goodness Adebayo, who is the author of the UX Career Strategy book, which I have been reading for the last couple of days and wanted to get your thoughts and views and opinions out there to all the public. So welcome, Goodness.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's a great privilege. All right. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Do you want to have a quick introduction about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Goodness. I am a UX designer. I am the author of UX Career Strategy, and also I'm also the founder of Mentorship with Goodness, which is a mentorship program to help entry-level designers grow and thrive in their career.
So the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show, you've written a very interesting book in how to guide UX professionals in their career. And I guess with any book, what inspired you to write it in the first place?
Okay, so starting out as a UX designer, right? I didn't start out as somebody that is tech savvy, right? So like I transitioned from being a baker, like I said in the book, to being a UX designer. And I had somebody literally hold my hand and it taught me the things that I needed to know about the way to go in the career. And so I see a lot of UX designers struggle in their career because they don't have such help, right? I mean, going from when I tell people that I literally transitioned into being a UX designer late 2021, they're always shocked at the growth and how much progress I've made, right? And I always say it's because of the people that I had around me. So like when I was getting into when I was transitioning into UX as a career, right? I had my friends, they were already like senior designers. So I had people around me that knew exactly what to do, what I shouldn't do, right? So I didn't have to do a lot of things I didn't need to do. Right. And that's what inspired me to write the book because I feel like there are a lot of people out there that don't have the help, right? I got a lot of reviews on the book on like no, a lot of books that we have out there talks about, how to design courses and, design principles and all. But like personally, I haven't seen like books that would, take you through how to navigate your career, things to do at after taking a course. Like on my LinkedIn, I get a lot of questions on like, okay, I've taken a course, I don't know what else to do, right? Yes, I have a mentorship program, but we don't have the capacity to accommodate everybody, right? So that's one reason, that's one thing that really inspired me to write the book. Just put something out there that a lot of people can have access to and get answers to their questions. Yeah.
I like the bit, and I really like this bit in the book where you did transition from a baker to being a UX designer, and that happened in 2021, from what I remember in the book.
Yes.
Um, One of the key things I liked about the book, and from somebody who's just come into the field so recently, you make a very good quote, and I have it here about fundamentals. So by understanding these fundamental principles, you develop a solid foundation in UX design and be
Mhm.
better equipped to create products that meet user needs and expectations. And I really like that quote because it resonates with me on many fronts due to the fact that a lot of people who come into this field forget the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And I really like how you have preached this in the book. And why do you think that's important to people coming into the field?
Okay. So I'm going to go back to when I started, my journey as a UX designer again. So like I said, I transitioned from being a baker. So I just wanted to learn graphics design for my business, right? Before I started seeing courses on UX design. So like when I started UI designs and all, people would tell me it looks really visually appealing and all of that, right? So I took a course on UX design and I'm like, whoa, like the UX design is way beyond just having visual designs and you making things look pretty. It has to work. It has to solve problems, right? And so yeah, I believe that understanding the fundamentals would help you go far in your career, because I mean, if a company is employing you, it's because they want to improve their product, right? They want to
Mhm.
solve a problem. So the problem they want you to solve is not just coming to, deliver a really pretty UI design. Where do they have bounce rates? Where are users, not going to make a purchase, right? What is really going wrong? How can we solve it? Now, when you understand the fundamentals, it's easier for you to, find solutions to these problems and really solve it. Increase um, the sales of the company, right? And really solve users' problem at the same time, right? So yeah, that's it for me.
I really like that, you mentioned also in the book, when you decided to transition into UX design, you mapped out a roadmap for yourself
Yeah.
to land a, I did study the book. I did, I did take the time, it was my evening reading. So I really liked it. I really highlighted key points. I don't have the hardback, so it's just loads of papers here at the moment, just scattered across my table. Um, but I think one of the things I like, and I think a lot of people who might be listening to this podcast, and generally it can happen for people coming into the field, or people who are established in the field, or people who want to move up into, a head or director. You mentioned something about building a roadmap for yourself to land a full-time role. Can you explain a bit about that and how you went about this?
Okay, so again, back to when I started, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I mentioned, I took a course, and that was when I realized that, UX design is way beyond just having nice visuals and all. So I told myself, I cannot do this. Right? Like this is a lot of work, and I don't think I want to do this. So I took a break from it, right? And I just focused on my business path. And I mean, I think I mentioned also in the book the importance of, having the right people around you. Yeah. So like the people around me, they would be like, goodness, you're really good at this, you can do this and all. So when I decided to um get back into the, sorry, what's the question again? I kind of missed it.
We can go back. We can go back. No, no. I was mentioning about building a roadmap for yourself when
Yes. So,
you kind of, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Decided that, okay, this is what I wanted to do. I asked a lot of questions, like how do I go about it? Because I'd realized how, I won't say hard, or how much work you would have to put into this particular career. Yeah. So I asked a lot of questions. If to get a job, what do I need? I got answers like, you need to have a portfolio. Okay, what does the standard portfolio look like? Right. Once I got the answer to that, I knew, okay, I need a portfolio. This is what a standard portfolio looks like. These are the things I need to put in my portfolio to get a job, right? Okay, so I also got answers like you might not get a job without an internship, right? So first, get a portfolio. Second, get an internship. Then from an internship, you can get a job. So that was what I focused on. So yeah, it took me about, like I mentioned in the book, it took me about 3 months to get my first internship. Then after that, I started applying for jobs, and yeah, God helped me and I got my first role. Yeah.
So tying into that last question you just mentioned about building portfolio, I think one of the things you mentioned in your book is building a portfolio that represents you, that makes you stand out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I struggle in seeing is people building good UX portfolios um, to represent good UX work. There's always a lot of beautiful portfolios, like a lot of UI and graphic design, but there's a lack of actual UX portfolios out there. Now, what would you say to people who want to just focus solely on the UX part? How do you build a portfolio like that makes you stand out?
Okay, so the simple answer is solve a problem. That's how easy, how simple it can be, solve a problem. So I remember, I think my second UX case study, right? It's a case study on health related issue. And the focus for that is because here in Nigeria, unlike developed countries, we don't have anything like 911 that you can call in case of emergency. I mean, even up to now, it's like still that bad. If something happens in your area, someone faints and all, there is no 911 to call. So, I was at home that day, and somebody rushed to our house, and they were asking for my dad to take somebody to the hospital, and I'm like, this is a real problem that a lot of people are facing, right? I did my research about it. I looked for the best solution, created in a UI for that, right? Where people can, go ahead, order for. So it's more like Uber for 911 kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's more like Uber for 911, right? Where you can literally order for an ambulance, and they can track your location and just come there to pick up whoever it is that is needs and medical aid, right? So that was what the project was about. Yeah. So it's simple as that. So because I get a lot of questions about, if I don't work with a company to solve a problem, how do I build a portfolio? Look around you. There is definitely a problem that you can solve. You can also go ahead, check people's websites that you feel like, okay, this and this is not working right, or the problem that you are having navigating that website, and develop a solution to that, right? So that's how you can, and like I always say, don't just, go the cliche way of, just writing UX research and this and this and that, right? Tell a story, because you don't want your portfolio to look like every other person's portfolio. Tell a story, how you encounter the problem, how you figured out the best solution, right, to the problem, and that way your portfolio can stand out from a lot of people out there. Because indeed, even when you get to an interview, you actually are solving a problem, real problem, right? You're not just solving something generic or something you saw online, right? So yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest advice I've heard in a long time. You don't need to be in a company to solve a problem for your portfolio. You can just look at loads of other stuff and really build a portfolio based on that. So you don't really need an end customer. It's really, really, really good advice. Um, I want to move on to one of the key things that I think a lot of people, um, I think a lot of people are just struggling at the moment. It's struggling to get jobs. Um, and I think, and you use a nice sentence. It's used quite a lot, and I really like it. There's no point in making sacrifices if you're not willing to put in the effort. And I think that that line resonates with me in many levels. You do have to take a lot of sacrifice in order to get a job. And I think it doesn't just stop in getting a job. I think it also happens inside the job. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some things in your design process in order to get stuff. Um, why does that line resonate with you?
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people would tell me that, when I enter LinkedIn, I see your post and all of that. And my simple question is, I'm not on LinkedIn because like I literally love to be on LinkedIn. I'm there because I have
Hmm.
to be, right? I have to be visible. I have to show up. I I always tell myself I don't have a choice, because I can take courses, I can do designs, but if nobody's seeing it, then nobody would hire me, right? So I push myself like every day, like you don't have a choice, right? If you're looking for this, you have to put in the work to get it. Nothing comes for free. So yeah.
Like that. And I think you mention, or well, you don't mention directly, but I think a lot of people who come into this field think it's very easy. And I just had a podcast just just before this, um, where we were talking about people think our job is very, very easy and that it can be done by anyone. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I think recently I was having a conversation with somebody, right? And the person was, talking about AI taking the roles of designers and all of that. And I'm like, no, cannot, because our work, it's for people that think that our work is just, UI designs and all. But truly, our work go far beyond that. It goes down to thinking a lot. I mean, I could get a project and nothing is on Figma for 2 weeks. I am just thinking, like going from one website to another, trying to figure out, okay, what are these people missing? What can we add to this to solve users' problem? I'm checking the apps, checking reviews and all of that, looking for the best color to interpret the brand's message, right? At the same time, that's for companies that don't, have a brand color yet and all, yeah. I mean, so our work, AI can't do that for you, right? AI
Hmm.
will literally, okay, you just give it a prompt and it's giving you, I mean, whatever it is. But for us, it goes like way beyond that, thinking even to down to, the information architecture. How do they move from point A to point B without stress, right? How can we limit the number of clicks that would get them to get a solution to their problem, right? If they want to buy something, how can we make it more easy than what is already what is already existing right now, right? That takes a lot of thinking, that takes a lot of research, that takes a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, sometimes you're sleeping
Yeah.
and you're still thinking about a product in your head. So yeah.
That's that's the designer's nightmare. But I always find that when you have those nights of thinking, that's when you get the most ideas for some reason.
Yeah.
I have I have my epiphanies during those sleepless nights, and how to solve problems.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you make a good point that I think a lot of designers already do at the moment, or already have at the moment. You mentioned the comment about having to be on LinkedIn, and it's something you have to do, and you wake up and kind of like have to be present and make yourself visible. And you make a good point about that also in your book, about putting yourself out there is the key to being a successful UX designer. Do you want to elaborate on that point?
Okay. So I mean, if I wasn't visible on LinkedIn, I wouldn't be on this podcast to start with, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah.
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 So I mean, there are loads of opportunities out there, and like I would always say, you have to market yourself. There is no even beyond being a designer, whatever career it is that you are in, you need to learn the skill to market yourself, right? Because there are lots of people that are not as good as you and are showing up and are getting the opportunities that you should be getting, right? And you see the work and you're like, I can do better than this. But I mean, they're not saying you, they don't know you can do that, right? So the best thing is for you to, show up regardless. So I was in a LinkedIn class recently, and somebody was the organizer was saying that when she started out on LinkedIn, they wanted to have a program, right? So they were posting about it. They didn't get post impressions and likes and all, right? It was discouraging. But when they went to somebody for investment or like meet up with the person was like, "Oh, that program, I've been seeing it on LinkedIn." They were shocked because I mean they were not getting likes, but people were seeing it. And like I always say, you don't know who is watching. People are actually watching. You might not get results in the first 2 months, 2 months. People want to see if you're consistent, right? So don't get discouraged if you're showing up, you're not getting results at first, right? But I mean, there is nothing you're consistent at and you don't get better at. First, you might not know how to write, but if you keep doing it over and over again, you get better and better at it. And people are watching you. The day there is an opening at their company, to me, you are the first person they would come to. Like, oh, I mean, I get a lot of messages like that. Like, once we have an opening in our company, we'd love to work with you. Why? I'm not even being at their interview. It's just through constantly being present online and showing my works. So yeah.
And what would you say to people starting out, who want to make themselves present? Because I also like this quote, about overcoming the imposter syndrome. And I got this quote that you wrote, that you mentioned. Success in UX design requires taking calculated risk and embracing failure as part of the learning process. And that one I really, really like, because a lot of people are scared to post on LinkedIn because there's so many people who are experts. There's many, many. people out there who just have that massive knowledge base. And what would you say to people to overcome the imposter syndrome and to start posting up, even though they're starting out?
Hey, so I get a lot of questions like that as well, and I think the one of the challenging thing is not knowing what to post, right? And I always tell people, especially if you're just starting out, post what you're learning, right?
Hmm.
You're just starting out, you're just learning. You learned about, color psychology today, post about it. You learned about design principles today, post about it. Let people know that okay, you're just learning and this is what you just learned. And okay, so the for the book we had like for people to be able to practice how to be visible, I created like a private group for people that, got the book. And I think we are on day 14 now or like day 10. And someone reached out to me yesterday and she was like, she got a job. It was true. So I created a content for them as well, right? So I think 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they posted about user research, right? And the person saw the post and was like, oh, I think you know what you're doing. Why? Because she's been consistent for, I mean, over like 10 days now, and she posted about user research. They got on a call and she got the job, right? So you don't necessarily have to, be a professional at what you do, right? Just keep posting what you're learning. You might not know it all, post whatever it is that you know now about user research, design principles, what you're learning, the case study that you have done, the mistakes that you are making, right? I have posted about
Hmm.
stuff like that before, like I made a mistake here, this is what I learned and all. And that is showing people that you can learn from your mistake. As crazy as it might sound,
Yeah.
those are skills that people want to see in people they want to hire, right? So you don't have to wait till you are like the top UX designer and all, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
You make a really good point in your book as well about the continuous learning and growth mindset. And I think that's a very important topic for anyone in any stage of their career. Um, what would you say to people listening to this podcast on having to keep, learning and keep adapting and keep yourself updated? What would you say to them to
Okay.
encourage them to do so?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a field like UX design, you would never know it all. Like, you never get to the place where, oh, you know everything. No, you don't. And that's the truth. And that is what I keep telling myself every day. I mean, recently Figma had an update, right? 2 years ago, they had an update. There is something for you to learn at every point. There is something new coming up. We are having AI, there is AR, VR for you to learn. There, like things are changing every day. Systems are changing. If you're using what is popular or what is in use last year, right? People are leaving you behind. There is always, I mean, it is so, would I say so bad? Like the field is so vast that I feel like I can't catch up with the number of things I still need to learn, right? So there is
Hmm.
always something to learn. There is always something to improve on. There is always a new technology to check out. And I think I was in a conference this weekend and we're, talking about designing for AI. And, they were talking about we don't design with pixel, we design with words. That is new to me. Like, okay, there is something like
Wow.
designing with words, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is always something to learn at every point. You never, and I always tell myself, no matter how much I know, I don't believe I know so much, right? But I believe that there is always something to learn. There is always something to improve on. If I know so much about UX already, I need to learn marketing to
Hmm.
know how to market myself. I need to learn how to, get into interviews and get the job, right? You meet me, you talk to me, and no other candidate feels like the right candidate, right? Um, what else? Branding. You need to learn how to brand yourself as a person, right? So there, you never get to that place where you feel like, oh, now I know it all, like, and I can relax, and I'm now the king, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always something, even if you feel like, oh, I've had everything you have designed, there are other, like say, sub parts that can help you build that knowledge that you have about UX already. So yeah.
I want to I want to take a subject that you mentioned that's that really resonates with a lot of UX people, and it's the point about overcoming challenges. And this line I also like. I actually highlighted that. I've actually got it right in front of me right now. So, um, you mentioned about overcoming the imposter syndrome and the need for resilience, in the face of setbacks. And this line I really love. It's success in any endeavor requires more than just talent or aspiration. It demands dedication, perseverance, and a willingness to put in the work. I love that sentence. What inspired you to write that sentence?
And that I believe in life there is no subtraction, there is addition, right? So you might have perseverance, you might be consistent. So there is always something to add to it, right? You can get to the point where you want to break, right? So you have to keep going again. I mean, you've been consistent, you've been every other thing, but everything has to be in check for you to, keep going, right? And I've been there as well, right? Where I feel like maybe I'm not good enough. But the thing is, I know I have to keep showing up, right? I lost my job last year, was really sad for me because I mean I didn't see it coming, right? And I think that's why I'm always very intentional about showing up because after I got the job, I felt like I'd checked out my goals and I wasn't as consistent as I used to be. So the moment I lost the job, it was really hard for me to get back there, and I was getting back out there with anxiety, like am I going to get another job and all like that, yeah. But God helped me, and like in less than a month, I got another like contract job and all. But that is enough to, make me feel like maybe I'm not good enough, right?
Hmm.
Another thing is as designers, the would I say imposter syndrome now or handling criticism, yeah. So there are some times that you get feedback on your design, especially if you're in a company, right? Like, oh, this is not good enough and all. And I always separate myself from the design. I mean, it's a really good skill for designers.
Hmm.
Like you have
Yeah.
to learn to separate yourself from the design. If not, any comment that is given on your design would speak to your person, right? So I separate myself from the design. In what sense? Like, I mean, I can do a design and you don't like it. Design is subjective, right? My question is this solving the problem? From what point are you saying it that I am not saying it? What can
Mm.
we do to solve the problem that we are having right now? So I don't see it as, oh, say my design is not nice or stuff like that. No, the design is not solving the problem that is at hand, and I can't be wrong, right? So what is it that I am missing? Is it the
Yeah.
direction of the design? Is it the layout, right? Is it the way I use the hierarchy? Should I have, highlighted something more important to the company, right? Am I
Yeah.
thinking more? You get so like that's a very I feel like that's an important skill, and I also mentioned it in the book as well. Like separating yourself from the design can make you go far in this
Yeah.
career and reduce the imposter syndrome. Yeah.
But it's hard. It's a hard one because I mean I'm speaking from my experience, and I think we go through a lot of, and I mean people who do proper UX. I'm talking who have really like researched. Okay, this button is meant to be there because it's meant to be there.
Mhm.
It's not meant to be there because it looks good. If you do real UX design, you really have done your scientific analysis or your kind of aspects into good UX practices to say this button is meant to be there. And for somebody to come along and say, no, I want him to be moved over here, or I don't like this, it really does affect you as a UX designer. And I think even now, even today, when we work with contractors, or sorry, when we work on certain contracts, um, and we work with these stakeholders who kind of say, hey, look, I want this over here, I want this done here, over there. Still to this day, even though I'm been in the field for a very long time, it still hurts me. Do you know what I mean? Because it has gone to a point where you go through a lot of thinking and a lot of practices to make something, and it's a hard one. It's a very, very hard one for designers to not be affected when somebody doesn't like your design or tries to change it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I've been there. So I think one happened about like 3 months ago. So I worked with a particular client, and it's a dashboard design, yeah. And he was very would I say demanding and very opinionated, right? So he
Mhm.
wanted the design to be done his way. Like I think the craziest thing he mentioned, and at that point I felt like I'm not going to work on this project anymore. Was like the logo should be moved from the left to the right. And I'm like, no, no,
All right.
no. Like I was like, no, we can reinvent the wheel and all. And I'm like, no, readers read from the left to the right. Like it should be there so they know that they are on your platform. I had to go through the educating platform on like why it needs to be there, how it affects users
Mhm.
and all. And I was like, okay, if you believe it's meant to be there. And so it can be hard. But I think
Yeah.
one thing I try to do is before, we get to the concluding phase of, okay, this is what we're doing. I try to educate you on like why it needs to be there, where the readers would read from, why the button needs to be this way, right? Based on my own experience and wild research and all. So if you still believe that, okay, I want it my way, it's either I go your way, or I'm not like, okay, I can't work on this project, because I mean it's my name that will be on it, and they'll be like, goodness design. This is no, I need not. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Goodness, we're now coming up to the end of the show, and I want to give you some space in if somebody is just about to read this book, or you want somebody to read this book and take something from it, what would be your statement to anyone who's wanting to pick it up and start reading?
Okay. So again, the book is for people, entry level designers. But if you're already a designer, it's still good for you. But I think firstly, I'm going to talk about entry level designers. So, like, I get a lot of questions like, I've taken a course, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know the next step to take and all. The book is for you, right? If you're there right now and you've taken a course. I mean, a lot of people understand the old UX thing, but they don't know what else to do. So the book covers a lot about, beyond taking a course, having a growth mindset, overcoming the challenges that you might have, even that you don't know that you might have in the career, right? Talking from my own
Yeah.
experience that I have had. So knowing it beforehand would help you overcome those challenges, right? How to be visible as well. Like, we mentioned, things for you to write about, and there are like bonuses in the book, like topics for you to post about if you don't know what to post about and all. The best way to show up online, right? How to reach out to recruiters and all of that, the best people for you to connect with, right? And also I talked about getting ready for interviews. I think that's like the last chapter of the book, how to research about the company that you want to interview with and all of that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's like I feel like it's a full, like that's why I call it UX career strategy. Like it's like a roadmap from starting out to getting the job. And if you're already established in the industry, there's still a lot for you to learn from the book, like having a growth mindset, still overcoming challenges that you're having right now. And yeah, so it's good for people that are just starting out. If you're already in, the UX design industry, there's still a lot of things for you to learn from the book.
Brilliant. I like, before we wrap up, I do like this sentence, and I think anyone who is starting out or, you know, is looking to get into this field, and you mentioned that this book is really focused on people who are starting out. I think one statement I like that you wrote in there is about your focus. And you
Yeah.
mentioned focus is my strength. And I knew I needed to concentrate on this one thing in order to achieve the results I desired. And I would give anyone that advice that if you are reading this book or generally coming into this field, that statement should resonate with you. Your
Yeah.
focus on what the results you need to achieve, um, and what you desire. It's a very key thing in helping you get far in this industry. Don't lose focus. Don't lose hope. Um, keep your desires in check. Keep your vision in check. And this is something that I like from the book, and I really enjoyed reading it. I really had a good time jotting down a lot of notes. I did really, really take a lot from there, and I think a lot of people will take a lot from there. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you came on the show and you kind of promoted that. So yeah, thank you very much. Goodness.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's nice to, talk to you as well.
No, that's definitely, and I think when I saw the book on LinkedIn, and exactly how you mentioned, if you weren't on LinkedIn, we wouldn't have connected, and I wouldn't have seen it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad that you took the time out to speak to us today and speak to our audience. We really appreciate it. So, looking forward to the next one, and looking forward to the next chapter.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. We will put your links to the book in the show notes. So if anyone wants to download it, they feel free. They can get it in the comments below. And we will also put a link to Goodness's LinkedIn profile so you can get in touch with her. If you have any
Yeah.
questions that you need, please reach out to her. I think she is definitely willing to answer anything that you have.
Mhm.
We think she's brilliant in her knowledge in helping people. A really good story behind how you got from to be, and I'm really looking forward to the next book you release.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to
Excellent.
it as well.
Brilliant.